I'd like to call the meeting to order. Everyone can please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Reinders?
Present.
Trustee Pasmino?
Present.
Trustee Consolino?
Present.
Trustee Fialco?
Present.
Trustee Laha?
Present.
Mayor Yukich?
Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Fast and
We
furious.
have recognition for the Community of Nature and Harmony Award.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to the celebration of the Homer Glen Lands Day, which is celebrated this year in conjunction with the National Public Lands Day on September 24th, 2022. This day is set aside to show support for recognizing and protecting significant areas in the natural environment. The Village Proclamation, written for this special day in 2001, states, "The Village of Homer Glen was founded and incorporated in large part due to the desires of its citizens to preserve the unique and diverse components of the natural environment within the village and to take steps in the further protection and beautification of that environment." Through the efforts of the Environment Committee, the village created Community and Nature and Harmony Award in 2002. Now in 2022, the 21st year for the awards, the village again recognizes individuals, businesses, community organizations, and governmental agencies that have demonstrated a commitment to the environment and in the process significantly contributed to the community pride through the preservation, restoration, and/or beautification of land within the village of Homer Glen. In addition to tonight's award ceremony, the Environment Committee held a trash cleanup at Culver Park. It was a lot of work. It was fun. I loved it. They had great hot dogs and all kinds of snacks. And is also planting 3 native evergreen trees at Glenview Walk Park to commemorate Homer Glen Lands Day. So now, for tonight's award presentation, Trustee Consolino.
During the awards recognition, we will have the assistance of our Environment Chair, Ruben Pasmino, and Mayor George Yukich, who will assist in presenting certificates to individuals and groups. As the Environment Committee members take their places, we would like to thank the members of our Environment Committee for coordinating this program. Co-Chairman Jennifer Consolino, Chris Chiapetta, Karina Cirillo, Bob Moses, Andy Pinella, Joe Therese, John Walters, Gary White, and staff liaisons Melissa King and Taylor Dew Darby. 2021 Community and Nature and Harmony Award presentation. It is with great pleasure that the Environment Committee presents these awards to recognize how individuals can influence and care for our natural environment and to support businesses and organizations who showcase Homer Glen's special character and generate community spirit. We have 7 individuals and property owners that are receiving awards this year. To help move things along, we ask that you come forward as I read your name. Proceed to the mayor to receive your certificate and have your picture taken, and then return to your seat.
And now for the 2022 Community and Nature and Harmony Award winners. Here we go. Now, just putting the people in front that were unable to attend today, unfortunately. Leonard Wolowski. So we'll have that person's award and we'll give it to them at a later date. All right, here we go. So when I call your name, please come up for your award, and Mayor Yukich will present it to you. Here we go. So for the Devora Woods HOA, for the funding and execution of an erosion control program that replaced unsightly shoreline erosion, dock erosion and dilapidated docks with protective, reinforced, and aesthetically pleasing functional rock finish. The Borewoods board members and neighbors planned and executed the project in the fall of 2021, and I believe Andy Pinelli is the president of that association.
Able to come in. I thought Dave is Dave here. Dave was supposed to come, but
So
go to the next one.
we'll go to the next one, okay. Well, let's give them a round of applause anyway. Some pretty good stuff. And next, sign recipients, property owners. The inherent beauty of our community would not exist without the care of our property owners. The following awards give recognition to owners who have set an example and inspired their neighbors and other residents within the community of Homer Glen. You have anybody? No? All right. Be right back.
I'm just going to ask, is there anyone in the audience here for the Community Nature and Harmony Awards? There are? Okay. All right, so maybe you just ring. Round of applause.
So the award recipients will receive a sign to be placed on the property, which is being recognized. When I call your name, please come forward while I read your award acknowledgement. Proceed to Mayor Yukich to receive your certificate and have your picture taken, and then receive your sign and return to your seat. The Athos family. Give it up for the Athos family. For dedicating decades of gardening work to developing stunning flowers and vegetable gardens. Congratulations.
How pretty. Oh, nice.
No, I never make. I did though.
I do too. I have those, and I have those, and I have those, and I have those. I don't have those. I do have that. I don't have those. And I don't have any beets.
Thank you. Next up, the Serge family, for establishing and maintaining an intricate backyard oasis full of unique plants and yard ornaments that are beautiful day and night. Serge family?
Oh, look how pretty. Look at, I have these two. It's gorgeous. Oh, look how pretty.
Next up, the Stevens family, for curating a gorgeous garden and outdoor living space. Please come up.
Beautiful hydrangeas. I know, I like hydrangeas too.
The Koshi family, for planting and maintaining extensive perennial gardens and for the installation of solar panels to their home. Thank you to all our participants. Let's give all the award winners a fresh round of applause, please. Oh, we got one more. This is a last minute one. All right, so this one is to the Shannon family. Come on up. I don't have anything. Whatever they did up there, that's what we're applauding for. All right.
Front yard vegetable garden. gardens.
Vegetable gardens, they're beautiful. All right,
nice.
right up there. Thank you, sir.
And preservation of old growth trees.
All right, thank you. To the Shannon family, thank you very much. Oh, you're here? All right, so we do have a representative from Deborah Woods. Sir, what was your name? David Casillas. Let's give him a round of applause, please. All the hard work over at Deborah Woods. Put that on your lawn. Wherever looks pretty.
Yeah. Are you late?
Thank you all for attending this marvelous evening and showing your efforts for the important Homer Glen event. To the Village Board, thank you for your support. To the Environment Committee, thank you for your assistance in coordinating the presentations. And Mayor Yukich, we hand the meeting back to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next would be public comment. First one would be Mike Carlson.
Well, I guess it was worth driving 90 miles to come see Ruben talk. Yeah, it was an excellent job, Ruben. Really good. You are a phenomenal trustee. I could go on for hours talking about you. I'm glad to have you in that seat. I know I only have 3 minutes. That doesn't give me a whole lot, but I wanted to just say Dan Fiocco, as I got to know him better and work close to him, man, he is an amazing guy for a trustee, and I think everybody should really look into him and see what kind of a man this guy is. He has done so much for this town, and when he was running his campaign, he did all these promises, and he's damn near completed almost every one of them so far that I know of. And I think Dan's a great guy. Yeah, people hear all this crap on Facebook and rumors, it's not true. If you guys got problems or questions, talk to the guy, he'll talk to you. He's an excellent person. One of the other things I wanted to say is, man, I can't believe now we're going to have ourselves a great mayor. I mean, if she wins this election, this town is nothing but good. This is how good this town is. And I love living here because of all these trustees that sit in that chair. And I get emotional sometimes because I have never seen a town get along with township trustees and regular village trustees. This is probably one of the best times I've seen in Homer Glen right here. And I also want to tell you guys something too. There's a restaurant down here, it's called Taza's. Cindy Bailey will be here on Tuesday about 7:30. You gotta come, check it out, sit down, have a wonderful dinner, a nice glass of wine, ask her some questions and talk with her. We are on the map now, people. We have it here. And it wouldn't be unless we didn't have these trustees. These trustees are the heart of this town. They are everything to me, and they should be everything to everybody else here because this is a nice town, good park. This park is phenomenal, what Rose has done and Laha. They have done so much for this park. All the trustees has, every one of them sitting up there, they have done an excellent job. That's all I got to say.
Next would be Mark Weaver.
Hello. I'm going to say thanks to the mayor and the officials for allowing this time. To be honest with you, this is my very first meeting, and I've lived in Homer Glen for 30 years. Pretty normal life. I raised a couple kids, went to all the high schools, and lived pretty normal lives. But I'm here to talk today about the Dash for Den. It's October 16th on a Sunday, and it's a 5K fun run walk. It's at the center the farm in Palis Park. And if anybody knows anything about that place, it is actually a recovery program for men. They have about 14 men that live there for about a year while they work and transition back to a normal life. And they do live there for free. It's 100% funded. It's a great program to get people back on their feet. And you know, the Dash for Den is in memory of our son Dennis, who did go there, and he did lose his battle to the disease of addiction. It was about 4 years ago in February, and at that time he had had about a year of sobriety and recovery. Life was good. He had a slip, a relapse as some people call it, and then it was over. The tox report came back, cocaine and about 100% fentanyl. So basically he didn't have a chance. Basically he was poisoned. The 5K run, fun run, has been a way for our family to do a few things. To raise awareness to this issue that's very real, to reduce the stigma that's associated with people struggling in addiction and recovery. And our real focus this year is especially to educate people, youngsters, and obviously it's in honor of our son and anyone working on recovery. We think that the best way to help in this disease and fight this is prevention by education. Anyone who is willing to listen to this conversation, and it's a tough conversation to have, I mean, no one wants to have it, but the bottom line is it does exist, it exists everywhere, and staying silent pretty much just strengthens the disease. So 5 years ago when this happened, we actually thought we knew something about fentanyl. We really didn't. Things have changed since then for the worse. Younger kids are being targeted by dealers. It's not safe at all to experiment socially. It's actually very deadly. I'm sure some of you heard about pills being laced with being laced with fentanyl in the form of Adderall and Percocet, and now even candy. So some kids who experiment for the very first time are dying on the very first time. Some terrible stats, are 1 out of 4 families are affected by the disease of addiction and opioids. And in most cases, I think it's 2 out of 3 that fentanyl is present. 1 person every 9 minutes dies, and to date this year, over 107,000 people are passed. So we really want to talk to the kids. We want to get the parents out, talking about this. And a lot of people are fighting this fight. There's many people lobbying Congress. There's people fighting for murder charges. There's moms and dads doing some great things. But our focus is local. It's absolutely and on the center at the, which is the farm and Southwest Highway in Palis. Last year we had 200 runners and walkers, and people just came and hang out. That day we'll have resources on hand from, I think some people know about Heroes. They have that trailer that comes out and it talks about things in plain sight. It's definitely for parents to be educated. We'll have an Al-Anon info table. We'll have a recovery table. And anyone else wants more information, we have a Facebook presence. It's under Dash for Den. I have handouts. Love to see anybody out there participating, support. It's a great cause. The center does a great job. Appreciate you guys listening to our mission. Hope that we can have some courage to continue the conversation. I thank Joe for inviting me and giving me the courage to say this. It's really not an easy conversation to have. So if you need help, just please reach out. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Raber, and maybe towards the end, if this is something that we could talk about, because we've had, unfortunately, a lot of local cases. I'd love to talk about maybe getting some committee together, something, some local meetings, or just something that we could do for Homer Glen and our local issues on this. Thank you again.
Mr. Raber, I would like to personally help you with your event, so I'd like to connect with you. I'll talk to Joe, and I would like to help promote your event.
Thank you so much for coming and speak tonight.
Next one, Wayne.
Sorry to bust your bubble. For those of you that don't know me, I used to be in law enforcement, so I know what I'm talking about when I start quoting making these comments. I've been here prior to our inception of the village, and it was my understanding the village was incorporated to prevent people from, real estate people from putting 10 houses on 1 acre of land. Villas of Old Oak, it's 46 units on 18 acres. What happened to community and nature in harmony? That doesn't sound like it to me. On another note, I've been biting my tongue since that special meeting that only 2 people attended, because I did not think it was appropriate for people talking out the way they did to the mayor. Censuring and establishing future signing requirements for the mayor is on the agenda tonight to be talked about. Now, I can see censuring the mayor if he makes a mistake or does something wrong. But future signing requirements for the mayor, give me a break. Now, that was taken off within the last 48 hours. I'm wondering why. Let's see, I couldn't confirm this with an independent source. I won't talk about that. Village paid invoicing listing for September 20th for the 2 attorneys' offices. Previously, this was on a regular invoice that was submitted, and now it's on the invoice listing. What's that all about? 720 ILCS, Illinois Criminal Statutes, 5, Part E, offenses affecting government functions. Article 33-3, small a3, deals with official misconduct. I highly recommend some of the people on this board look at that. Thank you.
Next would be Sharon Swees.
Hello, everyone. I feel that certain trustees on this board are being quite vindictive, and your resolution about censoring the mayor is ludicrous. The resolution states that the village board is to contribute to honest and ethical working relationships with all colleagues on the board as well as village employees. I really don't see that happening, especially since the village lost 17 employees ever since this board took over last year. That massive exodus has never happened before. What does that tell you? You tell me who is damaging the reputation of this village. The resolution states that this board is committed to provide honest and trustworthy conduct and behavior. The trustees need to start taking a look at themselves as well.
Next would be Jay Brody.
Mayor Yukich, trustees, I just had a question in regards, well, actually, to you, George, regarding the mayor's report at the last meeting. You talked about the township and the township parks that are now owned by the village parks. And you made a very true statement that you said, well, now that the village owns them, well, the village has to pay to maintain them, which is a complete true statement. But at what cost? Because what exactly happened was they were consolidated into one entity. Routinely, when companies consolidate departments, it's usually for a budgetary cost sometimes they do it to save money. I don't know if that was the fact here. But what I do know is that the township paid X amount of dollars, and now the village pays X amount of dollars to maintain those said parks. Do you have those comparison numbers for us that you can maybe give during the mayor's report today? And if not today, maybe tomorrow. I figured since you brought it up, maybe at the not tomorrow, but at the next meeting, so no one has to FOIA it, we can actually see what those numbers were as to what it was costing the township to maintain the parks and what additional costs the park budget went up now that the village has it. Because it was kind of a blanket statement that gave the presumption that it was just passed through, and it may have been. But if we're gonna make comments from now on, and this goes to the trustees as well, a lot of us here don't have time to FOIA documents. I mean, some of us do, but a lot of us don't. And if we're going to make blatant statements, let's give the numbers to back it up. Like at the last meeting when I spoke, I talked about the tax savings. What I did was I gave actual examples from the Will County GIS website. I just didn't say, hey, I saved my taxes, thank you, thank you, thank you, see you later. I gave actual factual numbers, okay? That's how a lot of us relate, okay? And it's no disrespect because it's not just to the mayor, any of us, we need factual numbers. Otherwise, you guys are just throwing statements out there that have no credence. We need to be able to measure, we need measurability. We need to be able to measure what you're saying. So that was it. Thank you.
Okay, next would be Gail Snyder.
Hello, I'm Gail Snyder. I'm one of the founding fathers of the Village of Homer Glen. Our community is being damaged by election officials who've taken steps to thwart the will of the people who vote in elections, both by Homer Township officials who've hidden their intentions to sell open space lands out from under the residents, and by attempts here at the village to take more steps to further limit what our mayor can do. It is my understanding you have taken many steps to reduce the mayor's ability to do the work we elected him to do, and the actions you take tonight are just in addition to a long list of powers you have stripped him of. Our mayor is an elected official, and he should not be encumbered from doing the job he is meant to do because of politics. Regarding the pending sale of open space lands by Homer Township, taxpayers paid $8 million of open space, and the township wants to sell it without even asking us. Township officials have hidden their intentions to sell open space lands from the public for a year. Never said they wanted to sell open space lands at their board meetings or at the special meetings they held last October. Never called for a workshop or put the issue on the ballot for residents to vote on, as the last administration did to ask people if they could just build a pole barn on the Trantina farm. Never included in the 4-color newsletter they mailed to all of us, where they had a full page on their plans for an event center on Trantina Farm, but never said they were going to sell off 2 farms totaling 140 acres and use those funds to build it. Never said at the meeting just a couple weeks ago that they included the Welter Farm in Homer Glen as a property they could sell. They only told the public they would sell the Purdy and Paul farms. They had a year to let people know what they wanted to do, and they chose to stay silent. Only one trustee even asked any questions about the sale. They have disbanded their committees where the public may have learned their intentions. As Supervisor Balich said last time he was here, he does not want committees because he doesn't want people to know what his plans are, the plans he's making, and as a result there are no minutes, and that was done on purpose so residents won't know what is being planned. All negotiations and discussions are occurring in private. During your individual reports tonight, I'm asking you to say if you support the sale of open space or if you do not support the sale of open space. If you say nothing, you must be for the sale. get on the record. Let your constituents know where you stand on the issue, because people are deciding right now if some elected officials in the township and village are more friends with each other than they are genuine representatives of this community. You can find out more about this issue at the community-created website, www.homeroopenspace.com. We also have a link to a GoFundMe page, as now taxpayers have to hire an attorney to fight their own elected officials over the sale of open space.
Just so there's clarity as far as what you just said, you come here and you have your grievance about the township. I want the audience and the people at home to know that your grievance is with the township, and you do bring it here and you want us to vote on something that legal is still looking at. But I'd appreciate it if you're very clear that you bring your grievances from township meetings to this meeting, and it's okay. I have no problem with that. But I think you need to be clear about your grievance, and I know you have a stake in the game. You've been in this game for a long time, and you feel like you have something to lose. But at the same time, be very clear what you're speaking about. And we're not talking about the village and these trustees, you're talking about the township and those trustees. Right now, there is nothing for open space for us to discuss at this point. It is still legal's looking at it, and there's a lot of other things that have to be done with the township. It's a long way before it would come here. So if you could do that in the future, I'd appreciate it.
Clarification then?
Sure.
Okay, so this issue is voted on by the township, but you are representatives of our community, and the Welter Farm is in the village of Homer Glen, and you have a stake in this too, and you represent the same constituency as the Homer Township, and that's why I come here, because you should be involved in this issue. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. But you asked
I
us
didn't
to-
know this was a debate, but I would have, you know, if you want to go on.
Well, you're very good at debate. I see it all the time,
Yeah.
so this shouldn't be any harm to you. If you're going to say something about us voting tonight, it's not something for us to vote.
It's not a vote. I'm asking you to make a comment.
There's nothing for us to commit on tonight
I do.
because it hasn't
Well, I
got
think
that
we know your
far.
position then. I think we know your position. It's pretty clear.
No.
Wait, hold on.
You don't know.
This isn't what we're discussing right now. This is public comment. It only
Yes.
has it for public comment.
And I'm addressing her.
But you
with her
don't,
public
you have to
comment.
give them an opportunity to be able to speak what they want to
She did speak, and I'm answering what she said. And all I asked her to be clear about that her grievance is with the township. It hasn't made it to the village for us to do anything with. And she gives information that isn't correct information at this point. It's way ahead of the game. You're putting the cart before the horse. There is no commitment to make because legal hasn't even looked at the options that are out there. Obviously, you've been involved from the beginning, and I understand that. But your grievance is with the township right now, not with the village.
You have a stake in it.
I don't have any stake in anything.
You do, and you should.
How? Can you explain my stake?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me my stake in it.
Absolutely. I mean, okay, if we're going to continue, I didn't think this was
Go ahead.
usually the normal protocol for the village, but I mean, if you're going to grill people
I
who come
have
up
that
here
option.
as a member of the public. Okay, so right now, our community is faced with a real dilemma. Somebody mentioned here about having real numbers.
You
$8
said
million.
you were going to tell me about my stake in the
$8 million.
game.
Your stake is
about my stake
your
in the
stake
game.
is you represent this community.
Let's have a timeout here, okay? The mayor's right, this is a public comment.
Yeah.
The councilman was not recognized to speak, but if the mayor's gonna allow a discussion, let's at least have a discussion in a back and forth and give people a chance to speak and vice versa, right? I mean, this isn't getting us anywhere. We just need to have some decorum in the meeting. And I think council would agree.
This is public comment. The individual made her comment. I think at this point in time, we should adhere to what Mr. Silverman is saying. Let's just call it in on this one, and we can handle it at a point in time when it does in fact come before this board. That's the best way to handle it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next one would be Randy Lang.
Hi, I'm Randy Lang. I'm Homer Glen. I live in the Hidden Valley subdivision. I just wanted to ask if you guys can answer a question about the license plate readers that the village has, but are not online right now. I hear from some people that it is a budget issue, that they're too expensive to maintain. But I feel that it's a seatbelt that I'd rather have on before the accident happens rather than after the accident happens. One of my neighbors just down the road, 5 people entered her house and tried to rob it. Thank God she had a burglar system, and it deterred them from actually taking anything or harming anybody in the house. Thank God nobody was in the house, but somebody could have been. And I think the law enforcement that's behind me would like some tools at their disposal. And I think license plate readers that may cost a little bit of money now are going to save a lot of money later. So I'm wondering if those license plate readers are under your jurisdiction, and if they aren't online, when they will be online. Is there anybody that can answer that?
We're up for discussion later.
Okay.
Later on in this meeting.
Okay.
Good questions, though.
Yeah, okay.
We can get that addressed. And I understand too, it could have been kids, it could have been anything. There were 5 of them, it's the middle of daylight, it shouldn't be happening.
Right, and it would be a great thing to deter, to detect, to use, not only in this community, but it's a web with other communities. The people that were driving that car, it probably wasn't their car, it was a stolen car. So you're saying, oh, driver's plates, you know, license plates, they're not theirs anyway. But it could help those guys in the back, get them before they dump that car, burn the car, take it to a chop shop, whatever. So that needs to be done like ASAP before something bad is on everybody's head, including the people in this community, for not doing anything about it. So thank you guys. I hope something is done about it.
Thank you. All right. Next is going to be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'd like to piggyback on what Mr. Langen just got done saying, because I got a phone call today too, that 5 people tried breaking into the house, and nobody knows where they're coming in at. No one knows where they're going. If we did have the cameras took a picture, we can find out what it is. I think it's very important for the safety of this village, for everyone, and it encompasses Lockport, it encompasses Lamont, it encompasses Mokina. A lot more is going to happen soon because this whole world's getting crazy. They don't care where they go, what they do, and it's something that we need to put something together. We already had it, so when we get into this discussion, I'd love to carry this one out. So, and then there is one other thing. As for me, as mayor of Homer Glen, that has been voted into office by the residents of not only, but ran unopposed in the past election, I stand by my word as not only the mayor, but a longtime leader and volunteer in my community, that I did not sign the paper. I'm as honest as I possibly can come, and I'm done with the matter. I did not sign it. I'm tired of hearing other people saying you signed it, and that'll be discussed a little bit too from our lawyer, this lawyer. So I would like to make sure that that's just something that's over. Second, everyone's got to keep locking the cars, because the cars are still being left open, some of them with the keys in them. You don't know what you have in there. You got the garage doors open in the cars, so that's big enough that now they can come in your house. People have to definitely make sure that they're watching out for everybody. When we do come up to the cameras, I think it's something that we really need to talk about to keep safety. Jennifer's the one that pushed that thing forward in the first place, and I thought it was an absolutely wonderful idea that this is very good for our residents. And that's what we work here for. We don't work for anybody but you guys and the businesses. And we try to make it as best as possible. So I'd like your opinion when this thing comes up, how you feel about it, because it could affect you too. It could affect anyone in here, anyone around us. So, all right, next we'll go to the trustees. We'll go with Trustee Consolino.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I had wanted to get to this at the last meeting, but we got bogged down, unfortunately, with other things. I think it's very important for this board to start addressing the consequences that we're all going to be experiencing once Illinois State Bill 3653 goes fully into effect on January 1st, 2023. Our village board has previously submitted a resolution to our legislative state officials requesting for them not to pass this law. Numerous municipalities did this as well, but all to no avail. Majority of our state representatives did not listen. Governor Pritzker did not listen, and he signed this bill into law in February of 2021. And what most of the general public does not realize is that portions of this bill went immediately into effect when he signed it. I've been paying close attention to how our neighboring communities are handling the effect of this law, and a lot of them are starting to become outspoken about it. The Orland Village Board unanimously passed a resolution demanding state legislators work with public safety representatives to address problems that they see with the Safety, Accountability, and Fairness Equity Act. We could do the same if this board chooses to, but I'm uncertain that this would make any impact on the crime wave that will be an inevitable result of this poorly written crime reform law. Orland Park also just hired a few more police officers last week that are to deal specifically with the ATF and their increasing guns and arms arrests. This is in our own backyard. My goal with this speech tonight is to encourage an active dialogue with our board members regarding this serious dilemma. My goal is not to fearmonger our public, but to sincerely plan how we are going to continue to protect our residents. I and other members sitting on this board have received numerous questions and concerns from our constituents on how we are going to keep them safe. Homer Glen does not have its own police department, and we rely solely on the Will County Sheriff's Department to provide our police protection. To date, we've had no problems or increase in violence or crimes this past year, although the seriousness of some of the crimes we have been having the past few years have become much more serious. I think this board needs to work together and create either a subcommittee, as I suggested in the last meeting, or some type of task force made of our board members to address the safety concerns and issues of our village. I would prefer to prepare ourselves to handle the storm that is coming instead of leaving ourselves wide open and vulnerable to what can happen. I welcome suggestions from all of you, and including our community. I would also like to work on a joint effort to educate our residents on how they can be more proactive and vigilant for themselves, their families, and their property, just like what the mayor had said about lock your doors. There's a whole lot more that goes with this. I'd also like to explain the seriousness of the Safety, Accountability, and Fairness Equity Act, SAFETY Act. There is zero accountability with the so-called SAFETY Act. Just a few weeks ago, one of our local 33C school board members was rallying support for this very legislation. She publicly claimed it would not endanger our community and that would provide fairness and equity for poor individuals and minorities. Let me be clear, this law will statistically increase crimes. It already has. More importantly, it has and will continue to increase violent crimes. When Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart and Chief Judge Evans changed Cook County criminal procedures in 2017 to allow criminals, some of which that included offenses with weapons, crimes such as carjackings increased over 360% within a 6-month period. Since June 2020, crime in the city of Chicago, which is just 33 miles away from Homer Glen, has increased in unprecedented numbers. For 2020, crime was up over 50% from the prior year, with over 3,300 shootings. In 2021, crime increased another 35% on top of this, and the shootings increased to over 3,500. In 2021, Chicago had its deadliest year in a quarter of a century. As of September of this year, it has increased another 37% from the previous year. SAFETY Act eliminates cash bail and all pre-trial release decisions. I want to explain one of the factors that our state legislature claimed this is why they created the bill. It was based on a 2016 study that in the state of Illinois, 90% of those held in jail statewide are in a pretrial detention status. This detention affected more than 267,000 pretrial jail detainees per year. They found that this practice was too costly to the state, estimated at $143 per person per day. So basically, they're saying their rationale for this bill is to eliminate 90% of criminals who have been detained in our Cook County, Will County, all state county jails because they are in pre-trial status and because they have not yet been convicted. Will County State's Attorney Glasgow spoke right here on this very dais just a few months ago, presenting numbers to demonstrate the spikes in crimes since the passage of the Safety Act. Numerous Illinois state's attorneys have all gone on record to document this and their opposition of this law. Our own Will County State's Attorney Glasgow and the state's attorney from Kane County have filed a lawsuit against the bill, claiming that it is unconstitutional and violates our civil rights. Numerous county state's attorneys have all gone on record stating that the upcoming abolition of cash bail will create major safety issues. For instance, violent offenders who are released on electronic monitoring and choose to violate the terms of their release must be in violation, and this means where they are supposed to be under house arrest, must be in violation for at least 48 hours before law enforcement can do anything about it. They've stated that eliminating bail clearly contradicts previously established and superior law and places crime victims at a greater risk to be re-victimized. It also unnecessarily subjects witnesses or victims to threats and intimidation. After working at the Cook County Sheriff's Department for 19 years, I would like to share with you a very disturbing statistic regarding our jails and prisons. Our jails and our prisons have a recidivism rate of 95 to 99%. This means 95 to 99 out of 100 inmates goes right back out and commits another crime and comes right back into the correctional system. How exactly will this prevent or deter criminals from committing more crimes? Illinois is about to be the first ever cashless bail state in this country. I don't see how we can stop this. How are law-abiding citizens safe from being victimized by criminals if we don't detain them for committing crimes? Under the new law, it states that certain acts are detainable on an individual basis. This is the biggest argument that I see on social media. If a judge considers the suspect is a threat to the community or a flight risk, let me stress that it is up to the judge to decide if they will detain them and only with these specific offenses: treason, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, aggravated criminal sexual assault, robbery, burglary, residential burglary, aggravated arson, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated battery resulting in great bodily harm or permanent disability or disfigurement, and any other felony which involves the use or threat of physical force or violence against any individual. Any other offense is not detainable. Depending on the judge and their personal and political views, a person can be released on all of the above serious crimes that I just mentioned. Therefore, people need to do their homework and research your local judges before you vote for them or vote to retain them. State's Attorney Glasgow has stated on record that more than 600 criminals will be released on January 1st in Will County once this law goes fully into effect in January. 640 people being held in the Will County Jail will have their bonds ended on January 1st, including 60 people charged with murder. Glasgow also stated that he will not be able to hold anyone for more than 90 days if they demand a trial, after which they will get out no matter what crime they've committed. For those who believe that this is just a Republican or conservative fear tactic, it's not. Our Will County State's Attorney Glasgow is a very proud, self-proclaimed Democrat who's going on the record with these facts, statistics, and his opinions from his own personal experiences with his criminal background history. I cannot encourage our residents enough to please vote on November 8th. If you are frightened of the effects this law will have on our community, along with every other community in the state of Illinois, You need to vote out all the people who so carelessly voted to put this bill into effect and chose to jeopardize law-abiding citizens. I'm sorry that this was so long tonight, but it's a very important thing for people to start looking into. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Laha?
Yes, so reporting for the Ability Awareness Committee, our meeting on October 4th is actually going to be the committee members volunteering at the Best Buddies event that's going to be held at Konos. So if anybody wants to come and learn about our committee, what we do, or volunteer, please feel free to reach out. Also, I know Trustee Reinders is probably going to go into more detail, but the park addition at Heritage Park has been delivered. We basically stalked the trucks as they were coming in and took video and took pictures, and I'm just really excited. It was exciting. Even the workers themselves were really excited at how excited we were. So if you guys want to check out the progress, it's happening. So I just want to say thank you to the Parks Committee for working so hard. Thank you for Trustee Reinders and all the village staff that have made that happen. It's a really exciting thing to see progress. Also, I know that there's been talk on social media about the music mallets that keep getting cut off. We are fully aware. I think they've been cut off a few times. So we have a new facilities manager, and she is researching safe ways to reattach them so we possibly don't have any accidents and that we don't have to keep repurchasing them because they are pretty expensive. So we are fully aware of it. We are doing something about it, and we want them back out there as well. Another thing is the Stonebridge courts. We have been talking about those at the meetings where we are aware that they also need work. Yeah, resurfacing. And our facilities manager is now Jennifer, and not this Jennifer, a different Jennifer. So she's also aware of it. So we're on top of it. We hear you, and we are fully in agreement that we will work on these things. So I just wanted to give you an update with that. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers?
I was just inundated today with the effects of the hurricane in Florida and consumed by it the entire day. And as a community and staff members, I would like for us to join forces and think if there is anything that we can do to help support the people who have just, their lives are devastated. My personal friends has lost everything except for the shirt on her back that she got out of the house with. So as a community, I'd like to look into how we can lend support to the residents of Florida and know that they're in our thoughts and prayers at the very least, and see what it is that we can do. Along with that, I'd like to thank Trustee Constellino for her comments. I absolutely support you and would be honored to sit on any kind of subcommittee should you so choose. The effects of January 1st, I'll be sitting at home with my doors locked that day, that's for sure. So we do need to, as a community, stand up and say, why are we going to be the first to do this? This is just, it's completely mind-boggling to me. So I do thank you for your comments. That's all I have.
Thank you, Beth. Trustee Pasmino.
Thank you, sir. I have no report today because most of it went to the Environment Committee earlier, but I want to thank Trustee Consolino. Trustee Rogers, I do agree with you as well. HB 3653, it's a nightmare. January 1st, the floodgates open. We all know what caused it. We all know what we have to do about it. We have to hit that voting booth. Non-detainable offenses under the Safety Act, just to repeat and just to specify. The following crimes would be non-detainable offenses after the Safety Act goes into effect, meaning that criminals will be allowed to be charged with and released for these crimes without bail. And these are the sticklers right here. Number 1, trespassing. Somebody goes onto your lot. Let's say it's a canvasser, a guy that didn't like your answer no, he can stay there. And the only people that can remove him, guess what? Nobody. He just gets a ticket. And the cops cannot remove him. They just keep giving him a ticket. And that's it. Second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, arson, aggravated battery, kidnapping, burglary, robbery, intimidation, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing and eluding, drug offensive, and of course, most people probably wouldn't mind this, but threatening a public official, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is getting serious. We got to do something about it. It's very important to hit them ballot boots. Look at what judges you're representing, like Trustee Consolino stated. We have to protect where we're at. We have to protect where we live. I mean, I know there are a lot of differences out there, but at the end of the day, let's all help each other out. And this is how you do it at the voting booth. Thank you.
All right, next would be Trustee Renders.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to reiterate a little bit what Trustee Laha said. We are both very excited about the park. I've been out there. I was actually out there yesterday and the day before, and we're going to be going out there again tomorrow morning. They seem to be moving pretty fast on the project. Today, they actually got a lot more done than they did the first 2 days. They were working with a full team today, so they were actually it's actually taking shape. So if anybody wants to go out there and take a look, it's really coming into its own. It'll probably be about 2 weeks before it's completed, depending on the weather. They do have to put down the cement, and once the cement is cured, then they can put down the pour-in-place surface. So, and then once that's done, we'll be open for business. So we're looking forward to it. Another couple things I wanted to remind everybody was for the Scarecrow event. The Scarecrow event is, you have to drop off your scarecrows on October 8th, and they will be visible in the park from the 8th and through the 30th. And then also, Spooky Park starts October 2nd. I was out there watching the park and watching them put up all the things for the Spooky Park. And there was actually a woman out there today, because I just drove past. She was sitting out there with her arm around the skeleton on the bench. It was so cute. But so that's some of the other things. And then don't forget, Trunk or Treat is coming up October 22nd. So make sure that you get your application into the special events coordinator. And Matt, I know you're back there. Are the applications going into Sue Stylen? I don't know if Sue is still here. The applications, are they going online? Do you know? On the events app? Okay. Yeah, so if you plan on participating, you need to get your application in as soon as possible because space is limited. And that's about it for my report. And again, I would just like to thank you, Jen. I mean, that's a great report, and I think we all need the awareness because it will be here before we know it, and we need to protect ourselves and our community. And for the record, Gail Snyder, I am not in favor of selling open space.
Thank you. Next would be Trustee Fialco.
Thank you, sir. As far as Homerfest and the report for Homerfest, we've submitted the grant that we talked about a couple meetings ago, and we're waiting on that to get back. I believe we've applied for $100,000 for that grant. If we're successful even with a portion of that, that'll help us out tremendously in saving taxpayer dollars in that regard. Other than that, I'd like to say happy birthday to the godmother of Homerfest, which is Debbie Stevens. Her birthday is on September 30th. She does a lot of things in the background to make the fest a success, along with Sue Stalin. But it is Debbie's birthday on September 30th, so happy birthday, Debbie. Trustee Castellino, great presentation that you gave with the details, and you were spot on with everything. I was very glad that Mr. Glasgow was able to come out and speak to us a couple weeks ago. And for him to file that lawsuit and put the wheels in motion and to take that stand after he was here and said he's even a Democrat, and it was a Democrat item that was, I think it was the majority of Democrats that passed. I think that says a lot for the man in himself and how he feels to protect our community here and the people in Will County. So that's my report, sir.
Thank you.
Ruben, one add-on, stargazing for Friday. This Friday, September 30th.
September 30th. Yes.
Starts at 7 o'clock, everyone. And so hopefully we should have decent weather. It's from 6:30 to 9. Thank you, village manager. And we're also going to have Big Wolf Run here in the building. And that'll start from 8 until 10. Or I'm sorry, 6:30 to 9 for Big Run Wolf Ranch here inside the village. And from 8 until 10 will be the telescope. So hopefully we'll have clear skies. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I'd just like to add, I'm sorry, I was so frazzled by the events in Florida. I also wanted to add that I too oppose the selling of open space. I was not part of the initiative that started it, but I do know there's a lot of people in this community who were a part of it, who gave money to it, who gave a lot of time to it, and from what I know right now, it's nothing that I support.
I'd like to add on, just may I continue? With open space, I don't support selling it. I don't support we have not gotten all the information. That doesn't mean that I'm for something that we don't have information on. And when people sometimes come to the podium and we get half the story, it confuses everybody. And I'm sorry that I kind of got emotional about it a little bit when you said what you said. But at the same time, we don't have a full picture yet. There are people that have called me and said, hey, that open space was bought a long time ago to protect our borders from Lockport annexing that's property into there. It's been open space for a long time. There are people that are saying it's time to do something with that space. Am I for selling it? I can't say that. I can say right now I'm not, because we don't have the information. And so for somebody to say that somebody, a trustee or this board has a stake in it somehow, and we have something to gain by it, is false. We don't. We don't even know where the trustees on the township side are with it yet. So once they get their information to the lawyers here, and the lawyers here inform us to what the facts are, instead of just going by emotions in Facebook, we will all make a decision at that point, I guess. But I'm not saying one way or the other, because I don't have the facts. Once I have the facts, that will be when that happens. And I imagine if you're correct with the things that you're saying, I believe that we will all be in support of that. If not, and there's a different answer and things have changed, then maybe it would be different. As far as committing to anything right now without the facts would not be fair to anybody. That's my point. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think that sometimes we have to make sure we're telling the whole story and not just a fraction of the story. Okay. But we don't want to accuse anybody of having a stake in anything that's not factual. So that was my point. Now, I'm sorry for getting a little emotional. It sometimes happens, but that's where I'm at with it. I'm not committed to anything because I don't have facts. And once I do, then we'll make that decision.
Let's be very clear. The attorney that works for the township is from the same group that works. Are we all going to yell out here tonight? That works for us.
Wait. Come on. Here.
Just move on. Let's just move
All right. It's real simple. Everyone here has an option of being able to say, I'm for it or I'm against it. I am dead against it. And a reason that, and Jennifer, for your question that you had of why I didn't tell anyone, why I said that they couldn't get it or how they wouldn't get water. If you remember when Steve Straight came in here and was explaining everything to us, they're at capacity. They don't have water they can give out that I don't think that anyone would want to drink. We have good water. They're out of wells. But as for the sewage end of it, Bonnie Brae's almost full. If we tried or Steve tried getting them to do it for it, there is no room. And it's not for hatred of anyone or anything. It's just That's just the way it is.
Just for clarification, sir, and I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but Bonnie Bray itself is only at 30% right now, and
Thank you.
Homer Glen would be a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of that. Not sure if you made
And wait a minute, and Mr. Morella, doesn't the agreement say that we have rights until 2030?
Yeah, we do have an IGA with Lockport that we do have rights from 20 to 2030. It's not an issue if Bonnie Bray is at capacity or not. Bonnie Bray was developed to be a 10-year plan. It is now working at a 20-year plan, and it's degrading very rapidly. So that's one of the biggest issues with that. They are at capacity at their other plant, and they're trying to come up with some work to figure out what to do. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
So if everyone wants to put their opinion out there right now of whether they want that to happen or not to happen, then let's see ayes and let's see no. And we can drop this until we find out what they're going to do. I don't think it's right to sell property that doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the village, it belongs to the township. So if otherwise, just wait and let's see. But if you don't like it the way it is, then you got to voice your opinion. And you got to make sure that they know what you want done and what you don't want done.
I don't think there's a problem with, people saying what they want and what they don't want. I think what I'm hearing is that we don't like being accused of things that we didn't say. I think that's the main issue at hand here. I'm not speaking for everyone, I'm speaking for myself. I know I've not been vocal. I've seen my name tied to and against when I haven't even said anything. So I think that is the problem at hand here, is giving us the opportunity to speak for ourselves and not assuming, and then being factual. And I would like to make sure that we are given that opportunity.
I agree.
Thank you.
Let's continue on with the agenda because we're far behind. There is no report for village clerk, correct, Sheena? We'll go with village attorneys. Kerry, you want to start on this one?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Mayor, I would like to say something. I'll be brief. Mayor, yesterday when I walked into my office, I had an email from the village attorney, Eric Hansen. It was very short. It said, Kerry, can you forward a copy of the village's Code of Ethics and Conduct and the village's personnel policy? I thought it was a little unusual since Eric is the village attorney and certainly knows how to look up the same thing I would look up. But regardless, I decided I would do my homework, and I sent Eric the personnel policy, and I sent Eric the code of conduct. And then I dug a little deeper, and I looked at the village's handbook for its employees, okay? And I'm making this comment because of what you said earlier in your comments. But this is what you expect of your employees. It is the policy of the Village of Homer Glen to conduct its business activities and transactions with the highest level of integrity and ethical standards and in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. All employees must conduct themselves accordingly and seek to avoid even the appearance of improper behavior. It then lists certain specific types of conduct which are prohibited. Now, I'm going to think that when you're telling the employees this, you're also meaning it as a village board, and I'll get to my point. It says dishonesty, including falsification of village records. Well, Mr. Mayor, I heard what you said. You said you stand by your word. That's not your signature, okay? I'd love to believe that. But I'll read this one more time. Because your village employees, if you didn't sign that document, then someone from your village did. So you're making an accusation that they violated this very important code of conduct, which I think is probably not true. But regardless, the expert, he looked at your signature, and he concluded the cumulative combination of significant similarities and the absence of characteristics indicative of simulation, meaning someone wrote your signature, provides sufficient evidence to determine it is probable George Yukich did write, and he emphasized that, the question signature appearing on the application. So I appreciate the fact you were voted in. I appreciate the fact that you were not challenged by any other contender in the last election. But listening to you here tonight say you're standing by your word and you did not sign the application, I want it on record. I beg to differ with you, and I think there are other persons in this room that would differ, and I'm going to bet every employee for this village would differ.
You know, Mayor,
that is my report.
I'm sure the mayor and everybody else appreciates your opinion as to what the mayor did or didn't do, Mr. Horvath. But Eric sent that email to you at my request because I reviewed the resolution that was prepared, I suspect, by your office. And that resolution that was prepared stated that the village had a code of ethics and a code of conduct. And please, no one misconstrue what I am about to say, because I am a firm believer, and I've talked to the mayor about this, he is a firm believer that everybody, whether they're an employee of this village or an elected official, should adhere to a code of conduct. But the reason that we asked you for it is because we thought we were missing something, because the code of conduct that's in the ordinances has absolutely nothing to do with the offense that's been alleged against the mayor. It has to do with prohibited activities, prohibited contracts, the gift bans, and things like that. And we merely wanted to see what it is. Were you looking at something that we weren't looking at? And we also asked for the personnel policy. We thought we had it, and we thought we knew what it was, but we wanted to make sure, again, that you weren't looking at something that we weren't looking at, because the personnel policy clearly applies only to employees. And I said, Eric, let's get a look at it. Let's double check. Maybe we missed something, because I've seen some personnel policies that also apply to elected officials. So, you know, the resolution is what it is, but it has very serious allegations that are in there. And I think that it should at least be accurate, because it suggests that there is some written policy, ethics policy or code of conduct that applies to the mayor of the village that's expressly set forth. And it's just not. I mean, I'm not, and look, if he did this, I'm not saying he's right, but I'm saying that the resolution is wrong in that it quotes something that just doesn't apply to these facts. And then your suggestion that about the questioned examiner's opinion. Well, look, there are several levels, and I did a little research on this, and I frankly thought it was disingenuous for the report not to include the standards which he judged this by in terms of...
Sure, the report did include the standards.
Well, look, I didn't interrupt you.
No one interrupted you at all. So.
He issued an opinion that it was probable that the mayor signed it, okay? But I think that it would have been smart to have the trustees and everybody in this village know that there are several levels of examination. And there are 4 levels which may indicate that someone signed the document. And this is the third in that hierarchy of 4 things. 1, the questioning examiner could have just said, hey, he did it. I think he did it. It's conclusive. 2, he could have said it's highly probable. 3, he could have said it's probable. Or 4, he could have just said that there's an indication, which is a lesser level. So I don't know that that's conclusive evidence. That's not my decision to make, but I think that the village board needs to know that he did not, according to the standards of question documents and what these people are held to, he did not find that it was conclusive. He found it was probable. So, you know, what does that mean? The mayor says he didn't do it. This guy said he probably did it. I don't know. That's not for me to judge. That's for other members of this board to judge. But I think you should be aware of that. And I have the standards that the document examiners judge these by, and I'm happy to share them. I think they should have been shared with you. And also, there was an indication in the report that one of the indications that he based his opinion on, he needed additional exemplars, that he didn't have enough, because, and he suggested that more be provided to him. I'm not aware that those were provided. I didn't see a supplemental report if there was. So I just think that, look, these things have serious consequences, and I think we should be accurate, and I think that everyone should be well informed when they make their decision. Right now, we have this gentleman who says he probably did it. We have this gentleman who says he didn't do it. I don't know.
Mr. Silverman,
if
I may, before you continue to carry on, if I may, first, the code of conduct, which, come on, you're village attorneys. You have been village attorneys for years. For you and Mr. Hanson to send me an email asking me to send you something is, first of all, is silly. But it says it is the policy of the village of Homer Glen. So, no, let me finish, please.
Yes,
please. All right?
I apologize.
Okay? If you had talked to the expert, he would tell you, he would testify in court that it was his signature. Now, when you talk about highly probable, if you really read the standards, you would understand that highly probable is not something that they require. Okay? It's definitive and then probable. Probable is as close as you can get, all right? But the other issue here, there's the accusation that's made. I didn't sign it, someone else did. Who?
Well,
there is no simulation. There were 14 characteristics he pointed out that are matching this man's signature. I don't want to argue any further. You have a code of conduct that employees and the village express and are supposed to follow. Look, don't make excuses at this point in time, Mr. Silverman.
I'm not making an excuse. I'm merely telling you what happened, my friend, and that is that we thought we may have missed something. I thought there may have been something in the Code of Ordinances that you saw, or something here that we knew. I can read it. They're online. They're in the code. I mean,
why didn't he say, these are the ordinances we've looked at. Do you have anything else? I mean, don't play this game. We've been at it too many years, Mr. Silverman.
Sir,
this is ridiculous.
Sir, I'm not playing a game. I'm just trying to make sure that what these trustees vote on is accurate. And I don't care how they vote. That's not my decision. That's not my call to make, and it's not my fight, right? But all I tried to do was make sure we weren't missing anything. And in fact, the ordinance you sent us wasn't the same as what was in the Code of Ordinances, because in the Code of Ordinances, it also has a prohibition on a hiring policy.
Is it your impression then that their honesty is not a policy of this village?
No. I said that, and I said, please do not misinterpret what I'm saying. We were merely, I didn't want to come here, sir, and say, look, the policy doesn't directly address this, and then have you say, well, here's the policy. You didn't read it, or you missed it. I didn't want to make that happen. I meant no offense. I meant nothing against your integrity or anyone else's integrity. I wanted to make sure that when I came to this board meeting tonight, that I had every fact that was available to me, and that's it. And you
Thank you for your opinion.
You can take it. That's all it is. That's all it is, and I just want to explain.
So I have a suggestion. So let's add falsification of forgery and forgery to the personnel policy. That way we have it all covered. Right? That's pretty much.
I have a lot more to add, too.
Please do not take my suggestion that people should not be held to a high standard of conduct. I just wanted to make sure that what's in that resolution that you guys vote on is accurate. And you know, vote however you want to vote. That's not my job.
Thank you, sir.
Well, he already had.
I got nothing else to say.
Okay. Public safety officials.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You were correct, and the gentleman is correct. Yesterday off 159th and Cedar in unincorporated Homer, there was an attempted burglary. Silver vehicle, 5 black males, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Had all of our flat cameras been up, we only have 2 at 10. If all 10 had been up, we would have caught them coming and going. We probably would have caught them within minutes. So it's unfortunate that the state and the county have not approved those permits yet, because it's really hindering our investigation tools. There's also 2 retail thefts on Bell Road we would have caught yesterday. And as a warning to the residents, the last week, there's been 4 burglaries or attempted burglaries between 1 and 4 p.m. in Lockport, Homer Township, and Homer Glen. So even if you're running out for 15 minutes, close your garage door, lock your doors, and just be extra vigilant. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be village manager.
Hello, everybody. I just want to touch a couple bases on a few things that we're going to be working on. It's kind of scary to see as we're working in the office. We got these big stick-like figures walking down the hall for our scarecrows, which is kind of cool, but kind of scary at the same time. What I want to touch base is we got our trunk or treat. We usually see about 2,000 trick-or-treaters that night. So I just want to let the board be aware that we are going to institute some no parking to facilitate some of the traffic that we anticipate for that evening. I was also informed that football will be having a game that evening, so the traffic's going to be a little heavier than normal. They haven't anticipated that usually their heavier weight teams have less of a crowd, so that should help, but I just want to keep everybody abreast and aware of what's going on. So I've been talking with public safety and Public Works to orchestrate getting those no parkings taken care of for that day. Just want to keep everybody aware of that. And yeah, we're excited about the stargazing. I think the combines are not going to be out there this year. So, we had a little trouble seeing the stars with the combines out there with the lights last year, so hopefully we'll stop that. So just to let everybody know. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, is that it for you, Carmen?
Yes.
Next would be the consent agenda. Consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of September 16th, 2022 through September 29th, 2022 in the amount of $650,200.80. 2, consider for the approval Treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period ending July 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just want to say one comment before we move forward. Yeah, well, for the public to know, the $99,000 for the roof, I just wanted everybody to know it's a little bit higher because A&F had approved the roof to be replaced, and that check is included in here for the $99,475. Thank you, sir. Aye.
Motion carries. Next, legislation and action items. Consider for approval ordinance number 22-035, an ordinance granting a variance to permit the mix of stone and brick and LP smart materials on the first floor as well. Liberty exterior construction standards 75-65A, applicability and scope, type of building or structure of the code of the village of Homer Glen for circular property located in the R3 single-family residential district at 17614 South McLaren Road in Homer Glen, Illinois.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Joe, have you been out to this property?
I have been out to the property, yes, sir.
And to the left and to the right, for one, we didn't get any complaints from any neighbors with this.
There have been
at
no
all, right?
concerns, and in your packet are the properties that are adjacent to that property, the current vacant property.
Will this fit into the community, the rest of the community, for what they're asking for?
There's a variety of different type exterior materials in that area. It's more on the western side of the town, or the southwestern side of the town. So there is a big mix of.
Okay, so you're good with it, with what they're.
All these materials have been approved to meet building code, so I am.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Number 2, discussion and possible action to discontinue the current usage and the contract for the 10 license plate reader cameras, solar power, wireless network, installation poles, cloud housing in the amount of $29,000, and the annual subscription of $25,000 starting in 2023.
I'll make
I
that
need a
motion.
motion.
I think there's discussion.
Well, all right, is there,
I made the motion.
you made the motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, I need a second.
Yes.
I'll second.
All right, now we're going to need discussion.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing to vote on, it's just discussion.
Just discussion.
All right, well,
It says possible action.
Well, here, reason we brought this up tonight is because we voted on this in January, and then February 7th is when the mayor signed the contract. We were supposed to acquire 10 cameras. So far, to date, we've only acquired 2. Now, village manager, what are the reasonings that you've been told when you keep inquiring about it?
So I reached out on September 23rd. I've also reached out on August 5th and September 5th, just to kind of get some ideas of what's going on. And the response I got back was September 26th, was Monday. We received comments back on your county permit last week. My deployment team made the appropriate corrections to the locations. We have sent them back to county for review, okay? Once the permits are approved, I'll let you know, and we will move forward with the installation. Thank you for checking in. That's all I got.
We're not,
very vague and
we're not getting very good responses on, so I'm disappointed. This is why I wanted to have the discussion on why don't we have the cameras yet? How did we get the 2 so quickly, not the other 8? And then also, you know, if they can't comply for whatever reason, or if there's some holdup with the permits, we need to figure out what the actual dilemma is, because it's not that I want to get rid of the cameras, and that was not so much what I stated. I said maybe we should be looking at other RFPs and see other contractors.
Why isn't that contractor here? They should be here today.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to understand why it's taken so long for us to, did they say they resubmitted?
Yeah.
Or they just are submitting for the first time?
They said the
So it was
team made
denied?
corrections. Yeah, it looks like it was denied.
And we don't know why it was denied. I think that's a problem that
I
we
think
need
it's
to.
a very big problem, especially in considering what everybody was in agreement on discussing earlier. So again, anybody that had, was confused about the idea that we were possibly getting rid of the cameras, no, we're questioning our contract. We're doing our due diligence. I want to know why we don't have the full 10 cameras. It's now over 8 months.
So at this point, it's also about service levels, because we're having service
And there are,
issues
from my
early
understanding,
on.
there's other companies
Right.
that do provide these cameras, so.
The other companies will need permits
don't
too?
have to necessarily stick with this one, so
So imagine when you have a contract, how that service level is going to be. So
I think it would be prudent.
$25,000 a month.
I think it would be prudent to ask that contractor to be at the next meeting to answer some of these questions that we have with regards to this. I absolutely support these flock cameras. I support our police officers 100%. Lieutenant Holly did an amazing job when he presented the need for these. We need these. I may have misread wrong, but my understanding is this is how the shooter at the July 4th parade was caught. As the lieutenant said, if we had these, we probably could have caught whoever tried to break in or who did break in this week. After January 1st, I really hope we have them before that too. So I would like for this to go back to the next agenda, and we require that they be here, and if they're not be here, then that's pretty telling.
I agree.
I think there might be a bigger issue. The former board before us, even when this got to us later in the year after we were sworn in, the former board had kicked this down the road at least once that I know of. And I'm not sure if this was ever put out to bid. Now, this is a huge amount of money, $30,000. I don't remember ever seeing any documentation, so if we're gonna bring in flock camera and we're gonna kick this can down the road a little bit, we need to make sure that we put this out to bid, being that it's $30,000, it's $25,000 a year.
I agree with that.
That's just to get started. In 10 years, that's $250,000. Our crime, you know what, there's a mixed thing. I've asked a lot of people about this, and I would say about 30% of people are for it, and the rest are there are people that don't want those cameras out there. And I get both sides. But when we take a look at this and the cost of it, this is just to get started, is the $30,000 per, to get started, $25,000 per year. We were supposed to have a 6-month or a 60-day trial period once the 6th camera was installed. That we were just talking about that didn't happen. So the thing is, we have crime down here 28%. I know a couple things have happened before, but I want everybody to keep in mind too, it doesn't mean crime's not going to get solved. If you didn't have flock, let's say the flock cameras, we went with somebody else, or they didn't get installed, it doesn't mean that crime's not going to be solved. We have great detectives here, we have great police officers. The surrounding communities have the flock cameras also that I'm sure those would be used in that process. So the point that I'm trying to make in the long haul, sometimes as trustees, we have to take our hats off and we have to put on the hats of our forefather. And we took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which supports freedom of movement. Now, myself, just looking at this without having all the details, whether this has been put out to bid and how we got here, because we originally agreed to a trial period, which things did not take place completely. But we have to put on the hats of our forefathers and say, okay, if this technology was available back when they wrote the Constitution, back when they put the Bill of Rights together, would they have wanted the citizens of the community to all be monitored, their comings and goings from the community that they live in? We can all just answer that to ourselves as to what that might be. Now, things have changed a little bit. Yes, the technology is out there, and these pictures are supposed to go away in 30 days. But at the same time, this is a business product. This is trying to be sold to this community. So we have to make sure we do the right thing, and maybe putting it out to bid, maybe trying a different angle, getting a better price. They can also install these on the police cars, and if you install them on the police cars, what that does is it's constantly being monitored by a police car that's moving. If you take and you put them at all the entry and exit points of this community, it's just like putting an ankle bracelet on every citizen of this community, because it takes pictures of everything, whether you committed a crime or not. And we all know that the technology can be fooled. I have several articles here about flock camera and the false promises of ALRPs, or ALPRs. So there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of information where people don't want them. Just like Oak Brook is taking down the cameras in their area. Those
are red light cameras.
Red light cameras. But they don't want that now because they did that and they found out that they're not happy with that. That is red light cameras. But as the technology changes, we also don't know what it's going to cost in the future 10 years from now. We don't know that these won't be speeding cameras, that they won't be, checking to see that you are stopping and going. I'm all for safety. My son is a police officer. We have 3 other people that are involved in law enforcement in our family. I support the police 100% in helping out, but I think there might be another way to accomplish the same goal. And by not monitoring all the entry and exit points of our community, that's kind of like where I'm at with it. But the main thing is we have not put this out to bid, and it's a $30,000 item, and so we need to make sure that we've done that. And if Jennifer, your public safety, if we find another way to bring this to your committee and find another company or another way to protect our community,
I don't think we even have to go to the committee, right?
No.
To put out RFPs.
I would like to at least hear from the company first.
Well, no, I would like, I think maybe.
Yeah, if you guys want to give us direction, we.
Get some RFPs and then
invite them to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'd like an explanation of why
I think that would be
they
a
had to
great idea.
resubmit for a
Got a
permit.
motion to table then? I think
I
we had a
guess so, we
motion and a
have
second
to-
on the floor.
It's only this.
well, right now it's just discussion anyway, right?
Possible actions, okay.
Right, and we didn't motion to.
Like to motion to put this out
I
for a
apologize
couple
for that. I made a
RFPs?
motion.
Yeah, I think that would be something that we could do for the next meeting, if that is okay with everybody. Just to see.
Carrie, do I need to make a motion for that? Motion to put this out for at least 2 more RFPs and to have them attend our next meeting and discuss the contract and what the hangup is. Okay.
Bids or RFPs?
Bids.
So I need to make that motion to put it out to bid. But the problem is, we don't know if it would, I
Right.
mean, for
We don't know
everybody
anything,
that was
yeah.
here before, did it go out to bid? I don't know. This former board had this, and they kicked it down the road. It was put in abeyance till we got here. Then we kind of picked it up, and we were given bits and pieces of information. So maybe you can find out if it was put out to bid.
Would you like to do
I don't know if it was or wasn't.
maybe a motion to table so we could do a little research on our end? And then
Agreed.
And then maybe contact them to come in so
Yeah,
that
and
we
then we
can
could
hear it straight
discuss it
from them.
next.
Yeah,
And then we can research whether or not it went out to bid.
right.
Would that be adequate for the board?
I think so.
Will that be along with other RFPs or just that one contractor? That's what, it's kind of mixed up right now.
Yeah, I think we need I think we need to.
Understand
have
if
this
it actually went to
contractor come
bid
in.
first, is
Right.
is what I'm understanding, is you guys would like to know if it went to bid first. So we could table to get more research to see if it actually did go to bid for the flock cameras. And then the next meeting, we can invite Flock to understand what the mishap is with the contract we have in play. And then if you guys decide what you want to do after you hear their comments, you can make a motion for cancel the contract and go for rebid.
Somebody
I
else,
mean,
yeah, to RFP, yeah.
Dan, you want a motion to table?
Yeah, I will. I just want to say one more thing, too. I have had several veterans come to me and say, I fought for this country not to come home and be monitored by some form of government device. Now, that's just another side of the story, but I forgot to say that in the beginning. So this subject is close to a 50-50 thing. Some people want it, some people don't want it. So I think we're headed in the right direction. I'd like to make the motion to table it or to put it out to
Can
the
I ask,
RFP.
is it the intention to put this further action or further implementation of the flock cameras in the village on hold at this point in time until flock comes and explains what the circumstances are causing?
Yes.
And then to see if it goes out to bid.
Right.
Already.
Yes.
Well, if you want to place implementation of the flock contract, further implementation on hold, pending an explanation, a satisfactory explanation from Flock, you should make that motion, okay? And then, if that is accepted by the board, then at least Flock can be notified by the manager, before you go forward, we need you to come in. And then if you want to then follow through and bid this, that would be a separate matter for the board to consider, and it would be a separate motion, which you can either make this evening or after you hear an explanation that would be provided by Flock.
So what I'm hearing is just making the motion to table it will be fine till Carmen gets the information.
No, you want to make,
Okay, go
you want to
ahead.
make a motion to put further implementation of the Flock cameras on hold pending Flock's explanation to the village board of what has occurred. That's one motion, so you're holding things up then, because what I believe they told the manager in his email, even though it was vague, was that the county, for some reason, didn't approve the permits, so they were resubmitting things. And so rather than keep the wheels moving, if you want more information before you go forward, you should put it on.
I'd like to make that motion to put the flock camera process on hold until the flock camera people come out and give us an explanation on what's going on and where we're at with it.
Someone has to,
Second that motion?
there has to be a roll call on that.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Now, if you want to direct the manager to solicit bids, you can make a motion to do that as well, or you can hold off until you hear from Flock.
I think there are bids, because they
Jennifer, what do you think would be the best in that?
Here, I'd like to motion, or if I can, or does it have to be Dan?
Jumping the gun here.
No, okay. For the village manager to see if there were previous bids for this contract with flock cameras, and if there were not, then I would like to acquire at least 2 more bids. Does that sound reasonable?
Will I have to make that motion since I made the original motion, or is it okay?
Anyone can make
Okay,
a motion.
all right.
Don't you have to terminate the contract before you?
I will second
for
that.
more bids?
They're not terminating anything, they just want to
I'm
find
just
out.
looking to see.
No, I think his question was, do you have to terminate before we go out for more bids? Is that true or no?
I don't know that you have to terminate anything. You can go and find out whatever you can, what's on the market, all right?
We might not even have to do that if we had previous bids.
Right, I think you're going to see that this board as a whole wouldn't vote on a contract without asking if it went out for RFP. So I believe you're going to find that there are other bids here, Carmen, you know.
And then we wouldn't have to if there
Right,
are.
these guys aren't, well, none of us are going to say, oh, yeah, take the only thing that's in front of us. There was some due diligence that was done to come to this number, so I think we have that already. It's probably in the packet of when we voted on it.
But as far as canceling, we don't have a contract. It was for them to install the 6, get on the 60-day trial period, and then we were to have a contract after that 60 days. So technically, we don't have a contract that's binding at this point anyway.
I don't know, I haven't
Yeah, we'd have.
reviewed the contract in depth.
Old for now.
It was a long time that has passed since they came before you. If you want to just put things on hold for this evening.
Jennifer made that motion, I seconded it, I guess. It's
Okay,
time
call the
for a
vote.
Yes, no?
What specifically is the vote?
Table.
No, we
No.
tabled it. Well,
No, we
we
motioned.
did the first part, now Jennifer, go ahead.
So the second motion that I made was for the village manager to do the research and see if we did have previous bids. If we don't have previous bids, then I requested that he put it out for at least 2 bids.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you want to call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, consider for approval one of 3 quotes for the 2022 Parkway Tree Installation Program.
So move.
I will second that.
Discussion?
I believe that Trustee Reinders asked for the list of the trees, so
Yes.
I believe we have it. Did you want to take it from there?
No, you can go on.
Okay. Well, we've got the list of the trees and.
Yeah, basically, I just wanted a list of the trees so that we all, because actually when we received the other 2 bids, they did actually list the types of trees that they were going to plant on the Parkway. And Bankston's bid did not have a list of the exact trees, and I know that there were some trees that were supposedly supposed to be taken off the list. So I just wanted to make sure that none of those trees were going to be planted. So I'm satisfied.
One of the trees that we did ask an A&F about was the crabapple, and it appears to me if I know there were a few lists going back and forth. With the one that I got last, it's got the red jewel crabapple on it. Now, I don't know if that's fruit bearing or not, but that was the main concern. Melissa, do you know?
She was taken off in the supplemental packet.
Okay,
The one you're motioning, you got to take it.
Okay, and the way I understand it too, we're soon going to be putting a fall, we missed 1 year with planting trees. So the way I understand it, we're also going to have we're going to try to get a spring planting put in there that'll include a few other trees that aren't on this list, like the tulip tree. So I think we're off to a good start with our fall planting.
Second.
Oh, I thought he already read it. Did he?
We made the motion in this.
Yeah, we
For
made,
the tree program.
yeah,
So, just the vote, right?
yeah.
Roll call?
I thought this was to open it up for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Right.
Bankston
Oh, okay.
is mentioning.
Yeah, Bankston's was already, they were already approved as the bid.
You should read the motion into the record so that everybody is aware that it's to approve the quote from.
The only thing that I'm looking at with the motion though, Carrie, is in the box for the motion for consideration, it says $23,600, although the lowest bid from Bankston Nursery was $31,900.
Yeah, $30,960.
How did that happen?
The correct amount should be included, whatever is on the contract.
So I believe I made that motion. I'd like to change the amount of $23,600 to the low bid of $31,900 with the trees that were put before us on the list.
$30,960.
That's the new number?
Why do we have three different numbers?
Yeah, why do we have so many different numbers?
What happened here?
Yeah, on Bankston's thing, it says $30,960. On the front, it says $31,900, and in the box, it says $23,600.
Okay.
So the motion was supposed to say, is there a motion to approve the quote for Bankston's Nursery for the installation of Parkway trees of 2022 tree installation program in the amount not to exceed $31,900? That's what the motion should have been.
Well, it wasn't, so what do we have to do?
So their proposal is 30,000.
Make the motion with the correction.
You can make the motion, the item is on the agenda for approval, which I think you've satisfied the requirement of the Open Meetings Act.
So I'd like to make that motion then to approve the quote from Bankston Nursery for the installation of Parkway trees for the 2022 tree installation program in the amount not to exceed
31,000.
$32,800, correct? That's what with the delivery or the freight on page 3?
31,000.
No, dang. It's $31,900.
I know. And then they've got another number that they penciled.
That's the Windmere Landscaping.
Okay.
That's different.
Can you give me the number one more time?
$31,900.
Okay, so on the front, it's correct. So the 2022 tree installation program, not to exceed the amount of $31,900. Second.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Okay, Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, consider for approval Resolution 22011 of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen, censoring mayor usage and establishing future sign requirements.
So moved.
Can I
Second.
just ask one question before you start? The gentleman said that the requirement for future signing was removed when he talked during public comment. Is that true or correct? No.
No.
That's not correct.
No.
Okay,
That
I
is
just wanted to be
incorrect.
sure. Thank you.
There were other things that were removed. That wasn't one of them.
So is there a second?
I second.
Discussion?
First, I would like to say something as far as censure. When you censure somebody, it's not taking anything away. It doesn't stop the mayor from doing anything. It's expressing your severe disappointment. It's an expression of formal disapproval. It doesn't stop the mayor from doing anything. Now, the second part of this, we talked long ago with the village manager about coming up with a procedure when this first reared its ugly head, as far as how the signature process would take place. And at that time, I believe we asked, do we have a procedure or a process? And we didn't. It was, the way I understood it at the time, it was put in a book and just passed around, however it was passed around, and put in an email box in the back. So this actually gives it some teeth as far as the procedure and a process to use with the signature, and it's enforcing that two people are are putting the eyes on the piece of paper. So I don't think it's a bad thing as far as two people being able to see the signature at the same time. It might take a little extra work, but I think it will help avoid any misunderstandings in the future. As far as what the lawyer from Silverman said there, it's a pretty hard argument to come across when a professional firm, KDX, has got his renowned background. He works for the federal government. He works for the state of Illinois. He works for a lot of law enforcement agencies. Matter of fact, I believe if Will County was to hire somebody, this possibly would have been the same firm that they would have paid the $3,200 for them to do the same thing. He did say that he would testify in court to his findings, that it was the signature of the mayor. So I don't doubt the gentleman with his background, Kevin Kubacki. He was, I believe the report was 170 pages long. He didn't mess around at all. He spent the time on it. If anyone wants to see his background again, we'd be more than willing to share that with you. But as far as this whole thing with censuring, and I don't believe it's other than a disappointment. Now, I'm disappointed because I was one of the people that was on the short list of the accused. So if it was left in this open status where nobody is saying who did this, but now we have somebody, a professional, the same professional, coming back and saying yes, in his professional opinion, whether it be a level 3 or a 4, his words where he says he'll testify to the fact in the court of law just says everything for me. Now, I know there were some people when the media, I wasn't involved with the media and Michelle Mullins when her report came out. I wasn't asked about it, but there was a trustee saying they believe George if he says he didn't do it. I believe the professionals, and I don't think we need to leave this open-ended. Censuring is not taking anything away from the mayor. It's just expressing our disappointment at a formal level. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialco. I think that was very well said on behalf of a lot of us.
I think I want to say something. I'm not an attorney. With much respect to our attorneys, with much respect to the professional that spent time on this, with much respect to every single trustee, with much respect to you, Mayor, but with most respect, to our residents, to our community. My personal opinion of what happened is I'm going to keep that personal to myself. But when I sit here and I think about what to do about this, what action needs to be, I made sure to not talk to anybody about this because I didn't want to be persuaded in any sort of thoughts, right? Because I do think I'm a trustee that can see both sides of the coin on many occasions. For me, this comes down to someone made a mistake. People are going to continue to make mistakes. We're all human. And I think it sometimes comes down to just offering grace, yes, it's unfortunate and disappointing. Trustee Fialco, I know your character and I know it's gold. And I stand by your character and who you are. But with that being said, I just want to make sure that we're doing what's good for the community. And for me personally, I just think a little grace goes a long way when it comes with this situation moving forward.
I agree with that. And the grace was this got changed. There were some things that were in here that was going to be asked to resign. Sure. And a few other things for what took place.
Sure.
And then it was only reduced down to a censure. Censure is just saying, hey, we are not happy with what you did.
Right.
It doesn't take anything away, and it gives it closure at that point, to me.
Sure, of course.
That's where, so as far as for the community, I could see if we had this big long thing and we were trying to take something away from the mayor. Censuring does not take anything away from the mayor. It's just saying we are disappointed in what took place. in a formal way. So I am disappointed. I'm disappointed I was on the short list. And anybody else that would have been on that list, I'm sure you would feel the way I feel, especially after the results came back. So being fair to the community was removing all the other items off the list that were asking the mayor to resign and a few other things. I didn't even really agree with that. And I think we did the right thing by having that change before we came here. But as far as censuring and expressing severe disappointment with what took place and how it took place, I think that is the right thing to do for the community.
I respect your opinion, I do.
I honestly really wish this wasn't happening.
Yeah.
To me, this is horrible. George,
Agree.
you and I have spoken privately, we've spoken publicly on moving forward, doing things for the community and the people, because that's what we're elected to do. And I'm almost done. It seems that just when we think we're taking 2 steps forward, we're taking 10 steps back. And this is one of those situations. A lot of people are saying, forget about it. It's, it's a mistake. Forgery, to me, is an accusation that's just as bad as stealing. And it puzzles me that everybody's taking it so lightly because, again, we've had a situation where a business card was torn up and thrown and somebody went to jail for it. Oh. So to me, forgery is way worse than that is. This accusation is not just amongst 2 people. It's amongst the board, which are your peers. Mm-hmm. It's amongst the entire village staff. And this accusation almost canceled the festival that people wait a year to go to. In my opinion, it puts the village in a category of a corrupt town because you have forgers on your dais or in your staff. I read about those things. I see it on movies. Now we're involved in it. So to me, when somebody makes that accusation and they leave an open accusation like that, that's not something that's taken very lightly. And George, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of rooting for you when I was hoping that forensic analysts came in and said that, no, you know what, that's not your signature. Because my intention with you was to work forward, to move forward, and you and I have spoken many times about it. We made a few offers for this to be ended. People make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And rather than moving forward, we're prolonging the humiliation to our board and the staff. And I want closure to this. To be really honest with you, I think that you may have been convinced or maybe even coerced to make that accusation. The person who may have pressured you to do this might even have you wrapped around their finger. Who knows? Because to make an accusation like that, wow, that's absolutely horrible. The sad part is that person who may have done that doesn't give a damn about the village. They don't care about the residents. They don't care about the staff. And for them to do that to you and let you take that brunt, they don't give a damn about you either. I think that unfortunately the sole purpose of that was to derail this board's efforts and everything that they've done. We've done a lot here. Contrary to what a few people may say, we put our heart and soul into this village. Everything. Everybody knows what we get paid here. It's nothing. And we're not doing this for the money. We're not doing this for the valor. We're not doing this for any other reason but to serve our community. And people forget those things. So, sir, I really apologize for this. Again, if we could roll back the clocks and go back in time and avoid this, I really wish we could do that, but come on. Let's give this board its dignity back. Let's give our staff their dignity back. Let's give everybody their dignity back and admit what happened. Because to be honest with you, after tonight, I never want to hear about this again. And I know for a fact that I'm willing to put my name and everything on it, my hands to the fire, that nobody on this board or our staff would ever do something like this. And that's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, had that report came back from KDX the other way, where if they would have been saying, no, it's not George's signature, what would be happening then is what I think to myself. And the only close example I can give is what happened to Trustee Reinders. Quick to convict, quick to do whatever could be done against her, handcuff her at her own place of business, only to later find out that there was no case to be had. And then a special meeting was being held, and going to find out what we could do to get Rose kicked off as a trustee. That was what that special meeting was about. So when we talk about grace, grace should be a two-way street.
I would have offered that as well, in my personal opinion.
I don't really believe that the grace was given to Rose, because if it would have been found and went to court and something was found on her behalf, you'd be right here trying to get her off the board as a trustee. And that would be for any of us. I'm ashamed that this took place, and I wish you could handle the truth and just say, hey, I made a mistake. I made a mistake, let's move on, guys. I sign a lot of stuff every day. I don't even look at, I watch you at A&F meetings, you're signing stuff. I don't know how you do it. But there's a lot of stuff that you sign, and you could have just said, I made a mistake. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But as far as I remember, now, that would have probably been the right avenue to take, especially when you saw what was going on and what was headed your way. I'm glad that we finally got to the truth, and to me, again, grace is a two-way street, and I haven't seen it from the other side, and if the circumstances were reversed, I'd hate to see what avenue would be taken then. I'm guessing it would be familiar or similar to what I just described happened to Rose. So,
I'd like to say something just to point out that we're all human and we all make mistakes. In that one mistake does not define a person.
Right.
And with that, I will extend the same courtesy that was extended to me. And that's all I have.
Okay. I have to say that when we talk about grace, that there was an incident that occurred in July with a trustee, and I had people come to me, and the police were involved, and said, you need to talk about this. You need to call this person out. You need to sanction this person. And I said, absolutely not. That's not in my character. That's for those people to resolve. Then there was the incident with Rose. Same thing. You need to call her out. You need to say this. Tell everybody what really happened. I was there. I heard it. I saw it. Like, that's not for me. I'm not a judge. I'm not the police. So what we have police for? But that's a perfect reason for somebody to be sanctioned. That's not for me. It's called grace. It's not for me. In the heat of a moment, she went berserk. It's not for me. It's happened to all of us. It's happened to all of us. Right? I mean, it happens.
Yes, and I'm suicidal too, yes.
And it happens. So it's called being graceful. This is just, I mean, if anything, if we're going to do that, then let's talk about those. Should those incidents be sanctioned? I don't know. It's for everybody to, I guess everybody else to talk about. Because there's more to both of those stories than everybody's talking about than just a business card. There's more to that story in July that people wouldn't be happy with. But I chose to stay on the high road. I said, I'm not doing this. This is not what's good for the people. The people, we need to start being leaders. We have spent an hour talking about this. Nothing productive here. Where are the promises to work on the water? Has anybody met with them? George has. George has this week. Spent the whole day there yesterday. Has anybody looked at the tax bills that we are going to be seeing in the next 2 years because of the CPI and the levies? We're all getting taxes. They're all going up. The CPI is going up. We're at a record high inflation. I didn't watch the stock market today, but I've been watching it. These are the things that we need to be working on. These are the things that the residents put us on this dais for. to be productive, to get some things done, to get the parks done, which you're doing. That's great. The amount of time that has been spent on this is ridiculous. As far as, you know, people make mistakes, I never heard an apology from any of those other people. Apologies should have been made. I never heard that. You're asking for an apology. I'm not asking for an apology. I wasn't there. Didn't affect me. It affected the residents. It affected a lot of people because it made a lot of news. The one incident did. As far as the signing, I don't have a problem with that as long as it goes for everybody. Because there was a document that was signed without the mayor's knowledge by a trustee. Is that right? No. So if it's going to be that way, I think that if we're going to sign documents, make sure it's in the presence of the clerk or the mayor, and go from there. You know, if it's good for him, it's good for us. If we're signing documents that are being submitted to the county with our signature on it, then we should have somebody else watching that too. I don't have a problem with the signature portion of it, but the fact that they're both in the same motion, I have a problem with. We need to, you know, when we talk about disappointment, you know, there's been some disappointments by other board members, and I never sat up here and called them out on any of that, never gave my opinion on it, and I'm saying that this is all about moving forward and cleaning up our act and doing what the people who voted you in, that means they speak highly of you, so let's stop with this. It's just ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
I'd like to speak now. I'm extremely tired of the grandstanding, the gaslighting, the nonstop campaigning. I know so are a lot of my residents, a lot of your residents. You know, every choice has a consequence. This resolution is a consequence for a very bad choice. I believe that this board wholeheartedly gave every opportunity to our mayor to make good, to either own up, apologize, or go with the flow. He chose not to admit to any of this. That's on him. I'm not sitting here to judge. I'm sitting here to take an action. The action we're looking at is censuring. Censuring, Dan explained it very, very well. It's symbolic. It's symbolic of what we represent on this board. The rest of us believe in integrity. So by censuring, that's what we're doing, is showing that there's still integrity left with this board for our community's sake. We're also looking at taking another action to prevent this from never happening again, which is what we added in tonight. It's to make sure that any future signing of documents was in the presence not of a politician, but of staff members. That's integrity. You know, I've been on the board, it's almost 19 months now, I've encountered numerous actions where I've been threatened, where I've been punched physically after a meeting, right over at that podium because I said point of order too many times to one of our board members. I've had my emails illegally read. I've been viciously, verbally attacked in our parking lot because of those emails being read illegally. Every action that I do with any of that, the misconduct, the unethical attacks that I've been on the receiving end, everybody on this board knows about it. Public didn't know about it. I always took care of it in-house. I did that for the public's well-being. And then I took the hit, and I dealt with it. And just like I've dealt with all the bullying. You know, these were the lumps that I had to take by being a publicly elected official. And I think I've done it pretty well. So I have no problem voting on this resolution tonight. I have no problem showing my integrity. And neither does anybody else. Whatever your choice is to vote tonight. But I'm telling you right now, I'm done with the politicking and the campaigning, and I know that there are other people on this board who are not, and I can't apologize enough to this community for it, but I'm not going to tolerate it. That's not what I was elected for. I'm done.
Okay, now it's my turn. I walked into an office and I was given a copy of a liquor license. And as soon as I looked at it, I said, that's not mine. I've been signing the contracts now since probably 2014. I do them the exact same way every single solitary time. They bring me the paper over, they ask me to sign it, and they take it away from me. When they gave me the paper that I have in my hand, these are initials. It's not my signatures. And the only time there's a signature on there is at one time Christine signed where I'm supposed to sign. And she told me about it, and she asked me, could you fix it? And I said, yes, I can fix it, and I put it in a box and we sent it up. This one wasn't that way. This one, I have no idea who did put that in there, but I do know at the bottom of this one, it's Dan that wrote the piece at the bottom. That's where I'm supposed to sign. So I'm trying to figure out there too, how did that happen? Because you're not the liquor commissioner, I am, and there's your signature.
Yeah, that is correct, because the chair of the fest is supposed to sign it there. That is not for your signature. And that is where Sue had 3 arrows put on the papers for me to sign, and that was one of the positions for it. And if you look at the signature, it says chair/of fest. And so you can try.
Are you the liquor commissioner?
What?
Are you the liquor commissioner?
It doesn't say liquor commissioner next to it.
Are you the liquor commissioner? Because I have to sign it for the liquor commissioner.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
Does it say liquor commissioner next to my name?
No.
No, it doesn't. So there you go.
I'd like to politely...
Here, you've talked.
Okay.
It's my turn. All right. That's not the way it is, and I can pull out every one of them from every single solitary year, which will show you exactly how they are supposed to do. We were in the office, and Sue was sitting at her desk. I'm pretty sure you were in the office at that time, too. Christine was in the office at that time, too. And what they were arguing about is, I was told by the liquor commissioner that we had to go to a different level of protection in the fencing area, and if it wasn't taken care of, I was not to sign the liquor license. It went around in a circle, and I listened to exactly what he said, and I told Dan that if it wants it, because he came up to the dais, Beth was there when he came up to the dais, and then he went over to see Christine to see if I would sign the liquor license, and I told him not until he agrees to what has to be done by the state.
You did not ever say that. You are lying right now, and I never brought a piece of paper to you on the dais. This is the dais. I would bring that paper to you that I don't even possess? You're lying.
No, you started over here and
No.
asked us, you know what, you can say all you want.
Here, I never possessed the paperwork in the first place. Sue Stalin is the one that moved the paperwork around. I never possessed it, not 1 minute in my life, except for put my own signature in the bottom where it was required with my social security number.
This isn't going to go anywhere. This is he said, she said. When I looked at
KDX gave the answer already.
When I looked at the signature here, and I said it wasn't mine, and then I went and said to Carmen that we need to get the police in here if we don't have an answer within 2 days.
Carmen, did he ask for the police to be called? At 10:15 in the morning on that Wednesday, did he ask for the police to be called, or did I?
In the office, you requested.
Thank you.
Mayor, I think we've beat this with a dead horse. I'd like to call for a vote.
Let's just move on, please.
Well,
no, you can't throw accusations out there.
They're not accusations.
Point of order. Please call the vote.
Call a vote.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. And for all the people that have been out there that know what's going on, because you've come to me, it should have been addressed to these people. So, all right. Is there any old business?
No.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Oh, number 5. Discuss and possible action to consider the quote for the All-American Exterior Solutions, remove existing and replace with new soffits and fascia for the Village Hall building in the amount of $56,140.
So move.
Second.
Can I suggest that you may want to include the waive the public bidding process? It doesn't look like there was a bid on this, there was a quote.
You weren't here for this last time.
I was not.
So we had moved this to get this taken care of. Carmen, we had asked for this RFP to be done. I know we only got a response from one person, right?
Only one vendor.
This was the one quote that we got, yes.
My recommendation stands.
Are we waiting for anybody else on this?
Joe, we are not.
We've not put this out for formal bid process. I had asked the contractor who's currently doing the roof to give us a proposal for the soffit and fascia work to be done. He did do that. It was an informal request for him to do. We have not gotten other bids. Just as a side note too, this did not include gutter replacement on the building, which if we were to move forward with an RFP, which I have prepared and ready to put out there, it would also include soffit, fascia, and gutter as well.
Now, at one time, you said in the bid process, when it was looked at the first time, that the gutters are fine, they didn't need to be replaced. So in the bidding for the $56,000, does that include the gutters?
It did not include the gutters at that time.
So where did the confusion come in that the gutters don't need?
At one point, in talking to the contractor, it was determined that the gutters weren't in a condition that did not need replacement. But if we were to replace the soffit, fascia, and it would not match the existing gutters that we have on the building now. The colors just would not match due to their age.
We talked about this at length in A&F, and it was decided that this was supposed to be done. Why we dragged our feet on this portion of it. I know you it seemed like you were apprehensive with moving forward with that for some reason at one time.
I was not apprehensive. I just, at the time, I felt the roof was an immediate concern. This is currently a sick building that we need to get replaced right now. And there was some time to put together the request for the soffit.
Carmen, so do you recommend we table this till we get two more RFP? I believe we had this conversation, and I saw an email go to Joe. Did you ever get a response in regards to the email that you said requesting what was going on with that portion of it?
The RFP request for an RFP, which I do have, I currently have. So given that direction, I just have to plug in the numbers and the dates, and we could have an RFP prepared to get published next week.
From three? From all three?
From anybody, from anybody.
We got one.
It would be a public notification process.
We'd get it from three.
But the $56,000 didn't, he's saying now didn't include the gutters, and now all of a sudden the gutters have to be replaced too. So, without splitting hairs here, do you think we can have this done before they're done installing the roof though?
Probably not. Because the roof is, you're up to about this beam.
And you were on vacation when the roof started being replaced, right? And I imagine under your direction, you asked them to start doing that?
I know the permit was issued, but I didn't know when the date of start was. No.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense that we would have started that without finishing the rest of it. But if we need to table it to get the other three, it can still be done, as far as I'm aware. It's not that it can't be done, it's just going to include now the gutters.
Are you're suggesting to go to bid for this, for the fascia, soffits, and gutters?
Well, I'll tell you, from A&F, we asked for that to be done. And 2 meetings ago, we asked for that to be done, and now here we are again. And the roof has already started to be installed. So whatever you need to make it happen, just let us know.
Well, you should make a motion to go to bid. to...
We did already, though. That was the last meeting.
No, because you didn't go to bid. We don't have any bids to act on.
No, I know, but we asked for it to go back to, that's why we tabled it. So we're going to have to do this again, you're saying?
Well, I don't know what you already did, but I think what you need to do is just say, make a motion to go to bid for the, whatever has to be done, the fascia, the soffit, and the gutters. And then they can, Joe said that he has the RFP ready. He can submit it to whomever is interested in bidding. But then you'll make the motion, you get your bids back, and you can act on your bid however you want to act.
Just to sum up, and I think I know where Trustee Fialko's going. We had already requested it to go to bid, but from what I'm getting, no bids were done, so we're asking for it again.
Correct. We need direction to put it out.
Just so I'm clear, I mean, you can waive the public bidding process if you don't think it's necessary to bid it. I just want to make sure that I'm not telling you you have to go to bid. Don't understand that. You can waive it with a vote of 2/3 of the village trustees.
You can waive it with a 2/3 vote if you want to.
But now, the $56,000 doesn't include the gutters, so all of a sudden they need to be replaced. So we got something that didn't include the gutters that...
Well, I think that's discussion, so at this point, they're just looking for a motion to move forward. So let's
make it.
Well,
go for the bid. All right.
The attorney's saying, though, is that the $56,000, we can just approve that we don't.
We don't know. Sure. That's price.
I think it's the right thing to go out to bid, though.
Yeah.
That would be my...
I would say too, based on the scope of the bids we got from the roof, which varied high and low, I think it was about $80,000 difference from high and low, and the qualifications of the contractor that's currently working on the roof, I would recommend we go out for bid.
So can we get it done this time?
and with the roof, and with the
all right. So I motion the bid for the fascia and the and the soffits. Potato.
Second. I will second that.
Aye.
I need a roll call. Sorry. Trustee Rogers? Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha? Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
I just want to make sure, I think Carmen and I talked about this, that we put in the agenda for the next meeting to officially set the trick or treat hours.
Yes, correct.
I have some new business. Going from Mr. Raber, where we were talking about perhaps maybe a committee for maybe drug prevention or some sort of, sir, are you still, oh, you're still here. I'd like to start talking about a committee, and I don't know how we would form that, but let's put our heads together and see what we can do. Because I've had a lot of friends, family of customers at my restaurant talk about for years this type of thing happening locally. So we need to hit that right away. This is like 911.
I like it, Ruben.
All right.
Along with that, we need to look to form some type of a committee with regards to what Jennifer has been saying, because it'll be October, and January will be here before we know it. We can't just wait to talk about this every 2 weeks or every other week. This is something that we need to get on before January 1st. So I don't know if we have to formalize that as an agenda item, but that's something that I'd like to see happen before the end of the month, at least a dialogue begin with that.
October 12th is our next meeting.
Right.
How about we go back and forth, maybe with an email chain saying whatever your suggestions are. Do we want to do a subcommittee? Do you want it to be a task force? If you do subcommittee, then we could have everybody who wants to be on it. Task force would only be 2 people.
I'd rather you didn't do that because it could violate the Open Meetings Act.
Well, that's, I said, task force could only be 2.
But if you're going, just be careful.
So subcommittee, if we did subcommittee and you could have as many, then they would just be open meetings.
And then we could also have residents.
Yes. So subcommittee kind of sounds more the way I think we might want to go.
I think so.
That way we can have a lot more participation and get
I think
residential input.
for the drug prevention thing, I think that needs to be its own committee.
Yes.
Because it's a huge deal. And I'll volunteer to chair that one.
I have a connection for you, Tim.
That's all we got. That's all I got.
for the executive session?
So, yes, Mayor, as a matter of fact, the village manager would like to go into executive session to discuss compensation personnel pursuant to the Open Meetings Act as a proper subject for closed session. And the manager and I would also like to brief the board on the status of collective bargaining with IUOE, International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, for the Public Works Department. And that is also a proper item for closed session under the Open Meetings Act. So we need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Could we take a 5-minute break before we do that?